What is up, YouTube? This is Cody on the Real Sports Talk, bringing you guys the Quaker State 400 preview from Kentucky. And just recapping the weekend real quick, James Buescher becomes the first repeat winner of 2012 in the Camping World Truck Series with Turner Motorsports. He won at Kansas previously, takes that victory on Thursday night. Good win for him. Brad Keselowski finishes second in that race, rookie Ty Dillon third, Matt Crafton fourth. They're putting some fast cars together along with their teammate Johnny Sauter, putting together solid runs. And Thor Sports getting up there, and I'd expect Matt Crafton to maybe win a few races this season. Timothy Peters finishes fifth. Johnny Sauter overcomes a speeding penalty on pit road to come back to sixth position. Jason Leffler finally getting luck to turn his way as the season goes along here, finishing in eighth, and Ron Hornaday in ninth. Rookie Kyle Larson in his very first start in this series, 20-year-old, young guy, a lot of talent with Chip. Excuse me. He gets into the race with Chip Ganassi Racing, and they finish in the top 10. Good finish for him. Points leader Justin Lofton coming into this race finishes 14th, and he was involved in a wreck, and he ended up not getting the finish he wanted, obviously. Timothy Peters jumps into the lead with his fifth place finish in this race, and Ty Dillon is in third place in the points now. Both Justin Lofton and Ty Dillon are 4 points behind Timothy Peters. James Buescher is 9 points behind the both of them with his 2 wins on the season. Parker Kligerman 5th, Matt Crafton 6th, Joey Coulter 7th, Ron Hornaday 8th, Nelson Piquet Jr. 9th. In the Nationwide Series race Friday night, Austin Dillon won from the pole, and that was his very first win in the series, but it was later figured out that he failed post-race inspection with his car. The rear of the car was too low, and you got to think back to when that happened with Clint Boyer as the chase started a few years ago, and that caused a lot of controversy. That was also with Richard Childress Racing and RCR, and that just I thought that was a weird coincidence in my mind that the same kind of thing happened with Austin Dillon here in the Nationwide Series. It was a very green race, only 2 cautions, and probably you want to expect that penalty for Austin Dillon. Going to go back to that for a second. Early next week, that's usually when they divvy out the penalties after the weekend's over, so probably like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Probably see a penalty for him. Dillon did jump into the points lead after this race by 2 points over Elliott Sadler, but with that points lead, he could be down to third or even fourth behind Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who's in third, 23 behind, or Sam Hornish Jr., who's in fourth, 33 points behind. We'll have to see how tough NASCAR is going to get with this penalty, because Austin Dillon was just flying throughout this race, and it seemed like he was on a whole nother level. And a lot of guys were actually saying that in their post-race interviews, that they did a great job, did some good homework, and they just did a great job with the race car, bringing it and prepping it at the track. And that was really something that a lot of the guys really said it was great for Austin Dillon to get his first win, and he'd be around for a long time. And then we come to see that in his first win, he fails post-race inspection. So that was interesting to see. It was good to see that 3-car back in victory lane, though, I must say. And that'll probably, who knows, maybe bring some more people back to our sport if that number gets in victory lane a little more. People that used to be into it, they might get back into it and bring some of those maybe Earnhardt fans back to the sport, as his number is back in the sport along with it winning. That's something that's really interesting to see moving forward, and it's time that that number gets back in victory lane. I'm not really for retiring numbers in this sport. On certain teams and other sports, I see it, but it's iconic, but carrying on the tradition is something else. Kurt Busch ends up finishing second in that Nationwide Series race. Kevin Harvick in third. Michael Lynette fourth. Good finish for him, finally putting that together. He's run well all season, top 10, top 15 constantly. To finally get a top 5 is good for that race team. Only 10 cars finished on the lead lap in this race. Justin Allgaier, Sam Hornish Jr., Brad Keselowski, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Elliott Sadler, James Buescher, all the part of those cars in the top 10 that finished on the lead lap. Danica Patrick kind of ran right outside the top 10 all day. She ends up coming home in 12th. And we see more Toyota engine troubles as we're seeing in the Cup Series with Kyle Busch. Denny Hamlin had a problem in this race for Joe Gibbs Racing. Brian Scott had a problem. Kurt Busch, as the laps were winding down, dropped a cylinder. He was still able to keep in second position. But I would expect that kind of green race tomorrow, or I guess tonight in the race in the Quaker State 400. This is another track record that was broken in qualifying, and it was the top of the leaderboards went to Jimmy Johnson, and starting alongside him will be Kyle Busch. This is only the second time the Sprint Cup guys are running at Kentucky, a lot of them. They've practiced here, obviously, I know that, but this is a live race experience. Nothing compares to that. So some guys are still going to be learning this track throughout the race, and how it adjusts is going to be a little bit different than last year was, as far as with the sun going down and the track adjusting. That's different every time, the way the track changes and handles with the tire that's brought, things like that. And especially, it's always key to adjust as the race goes on and the temperature changes and stuff like that. But when you're at a night race, you gotta account for the different things that are gonna go on throughout the race. With the sun going down, temperature change, you're gonna have to change your tire pressures, the air in your tires, and that's another element that's added to a night race, which makes night racing so exciting. I think that if Kyle Busch can hold his equipment together, he can take this track and make it his own and win here for a second consecutive year and be the only guy that has won here in the Cup Series. But I don't know. I can't trust his equipment, so I can't pick him to win, although I think he's going to run very well. Jimmy Johnson, who has 9 of his career wins from the pole, including his last pole in 2010, I believe it was at Dover. I think he's going to win this race from the pole. And he ran very well here last year, finished in the top 3. And I think this year he and Chad Knaus are going to be able to keep up with the track as it changes, make the right strategy call at the end, put themselves in position to win. And I think that Jimmy Johnson's going to get another win on this season here at Kentucky, and he'll become the second guy to win the Cup Series at Kentucky. I just wanted to talk a little bit about Matt Kenseth leaving Roush Racing after this season, since that was kind of the news of this week. And a lot of people are saying, like, why should the team try now that they know that Matt's not going to be their driver long term? And the thing is, it's not like Matt's not going to try. He's got nothing to lose. The team doesn't have anything to lose by trying to win this championship. And I wouldn't be surprised if he comes out with a good finish in this race as well, maybe even winning it, just with that motivation in the back of his mind. And really, what do they have to lose as they move forward? If they don't do it, that's just a wasted season, waste of their time, waste of equipment. So that's something that they'll just have to kind of work out amongst the team. There's rumors floating around where Matt Kenseth's going to go. It's said that it's decided where he's going to go, but he just hasn't announced it yet. Could be JGR, Joe Gibbs Racing, and that could be bad news for Joey Logano, or possibly it could be 4-car team at Joe Gibbs Racing. Some people have said Penske because AJ Allmendinger is only on a 1-year contract there. Others have said Stewart-Haas Racing is looking attractive for Kenseth at this time because Ryan Newman, his contract's up at the end of the season, but obviously I don't think they want to put Danica on hold another season for the Cup Series, and I know Tony Stewart likes Ryan Newman driving for him in this series. So I don't really know where Matt Kenseth's going to go. My opinion would be probably Joe Gibbs Racing, and I don't know what that means for Joey Logano, but that spells bad news too for guys like Kurt Busch and guys that are looking to come up into the Sprint Cup Series and find a ride. Maybe Ryan Newman if he does end up leaving Stewart-Haas. It's just something that we're going to have to wait and see. There's a lot of possibilities for Matt Kenseth at this point. I'm sure he would go into, if he didn't find something in the Cup Series, he would go into Roush's full-time ride in the Nationwide Series. But I don't think that's going to be the case. He's definitely got the talent. He's a past champion. And it's almost like the same conversation we were having with Kurt Busch, talent-wise. Not so much. Matt Kenseth obviously doesn't have the personality issues and issues off the track that Kurt Busch does. But we're not really getting into that right now. Just Matt Kenseth, it's going to be interesting where he decides to go, where he ends up going. He's already decided where he's going. When we find out where he went, it's going to be interesting to see how that's going to play out as he transitions from this season to the next. Well, now that we're done talking about Matt Kenseth, I guess we can get back to the race here. You have my winner, Jimmy Johnson. Comment down below who's yours. Follow me and Tim on Twitter. And you guys can subscribe to The Real Sports Talk here on YouTube. Check out our website. That's in our little About Us section, I guess you could say, of YouTube. And check out our website. We'll have post-race stuff on there as well. In-depth stuff and stuff you can look up as far as stats and things like that. So keep tuned to this channel and check out the website for all your sports coverage.